And now, guys, let's get straight into it. And, of course, this is the Barnaby Joyce next 20 minutes, because I tell you what, he certainly dominates most of the front pages tomorrow. And, of course, we look at the front of the Australian and it says, Barnaby gives his party the chance to rejoice. McCormack to face leadership challenge. Coalition turmoil deepens for PM. And then, of course, if we head to the Fairfax papers, there it is, the front of the Fin Review. Joyce will run for Nat's leadership. And, of course, we then go to The Age. Joyce vies for leadership as angry Nats force spill. And then, of course, we head to the Sydney Morning Herald. Rejoice. Nationals in disarray. Well, Scott Emerson, there's never a dull moment in the Canberra bubble, is there? And here we have another situation where we're going to have a leadership spill tomorrow. Now, you have some knowledge. You're a numbers man from way back. You have some knowledge on the numbers. At the moment, it's incredibly tight, possibly even one vote in it.
Yeah, look, there's 21 members in the party room there for the Nats. What we're hearing is about 10 for Barnaby at the moment, so he's got to flip one more to get across the line. But this is always the risk for McCormack. There have been rumblings about McCormack going well before the last election, but there was always the risk, the domino effect, if McKenzie had to quit over the sports rort issue, that they would see this, and this is exactly what happened. It's interesting how it started today, and you'd have to think it was planned. You know, Barnaby gets asked the question, would you run for leadership? Well, I would if it came up. Then McCormack comes out and says, well, it's not up. You know, it's not open at the moment. Then Lou O'Brien, a very loyal lieutenant to Joyce, comes out and says, I'm going to force a spill. So we'll see tomorrow, but clearly, even if McCormack survives tomorrow, you can't see him surviving very long after that.
It's interesting tonight, Damien, that Matt Canavan resigned his position from the front bench, of course, Northern Australian Minister, Resources Minister. That in itself was quite prescient. And, of course, the narrative here is very simple, and that is McCormack is... everyone acknowledges he's a terrific guy, but he hasn't quite got the cut through that many would have hoped, particularly in some of those regional areas where the One Nations, the Catters, and of course the Shooters and Fishers have done so well. So look, and yet you look at a bloke like Barnaby Joyce, who was embroiled in such an extraordinary scandal when he left his wife and so forth. Do voters, would they be prepared to give Barnaby another crack?
I think in many ways they're, polar opposites, complete opposites, as far as, cut through and those other measures that we talk about. They talk about Barnaby being a great retail politician. Certainly McCormack has struggled in that sphere. But, the baggage that Barnaby brings back into the public spotlight is something to behold. And, of course, that creates problems for Scott Morrison, should he become a prominent member of the coalition government. So Barnaby's always flagged that he wants to come back. He's been fairly defiant as to whether he's done anything wrong as far as that scandal goes. So we'll see how that goes. But to your point about Matt Canavan, I'm interested to see where he ends up in this in the wash-up, because he's been a great voice for regional Queensland and somebody who's probably got a bright future. And I know there'll be people in the bush hoping that he gets something prominent out of that.
Scott, what happens now, as you say, if the vote is close tomorrow, if he only loses by a couple? If McCormack wins by a couple, he's dead in the water. And I think that's going to be the case anyhow. If momentum is anything, you'd think that Barnaby's going to win tomorrow. If he's got 10 already tonight, there's eight Nats out of Queensland, 8 out of New South Wales, 4 out of Victoria, another 1 out of Northern Territory. You'd have to think that if he's already got 10, he's probably going to snatch it tomorrow. But as Damien just said, there'll be a lot of Libs out there really worried about Barnaby becoming Deputy Prime Minister again, because he is. He's a guy that you think you put on, he's going to cause problems for the Libs, isn't it? Risky. The problem is, of course, is McCormack hasn't been able to sell for the Nats. And even, I think we even saw that over the Christmas period. Remember when during the bushfire crisis, would it have been as bad for Morrison
if we had a high-profile deputy out there during the bushfire stuff when Morrison was overseas on holidays. Now, no one is supporting his decision to go overseas, but if there had been a big figure like Barnaby out there talking about it, would it have been such issues of criticism of Morrison at the time?